All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversationally Thriving with Lymphedema. This is our interview series, our Thriver series. And today we're lucky enough to have the wonderful, the dynamic Amanda Sobey of Amanda Sobey Inc. She's a motivational speaker, a lymphedema warrior, a personal trainer, an inspirer. We could have so many things to say about her. If you know her on Instagram, you know all of that is true. We're really excited to have her today. And we're going to have a great interview. Right, Amanda?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm so proud of you guys and all the work that you've done to make awareness and draw everybody together. So that's super awesome. Congratulations on your success.
Thank you so much. And we wouldn't be here without the lovely Deborah because it was her idea. So let me get
all right.
So Deborah and I will be going back and forth with questions, and lovely Amanda will answer, and we're going to get right into it right now. So Amanda, we were lucky enough to have you to be our very first Thursday Thriver about 20 weeks ago. Can you imagine? It's already 5 months of Thrivers.
No way.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming up on number 20 very soon. And we learned a lot about you then, but for the sake of our audience who may not have seen that post or forgot, can you tell us what type of lymphedema you have, how long you've had it for, and how you got it, please?
Sure. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Amanda Sobey, and I was diagnosed by two professionals. One was a vascular specialist, and the other was a lymphedema trainer who specializes in the lymphoscintigraphy test. So I've had that done twice and was told that I have primary lymphedema. But based on my story and based on my observation, I feel like I have secondary. Regardless of, I think, where and how lymphedema originates, I do understand the concept of lymphedema, as well as it doesn't really matter how you got it. It just matters pretty much how you deal with it, which is what I learned over this journey. I received this condition back in 2001. I had it for 19 years, and I have a really weird twist of a story because nothing really makes sense. Back in 2001, I used to live out in British Columbia, and anybody know? Anybody?
That's me.
Yeah. So I used to live out there from 2001 to 2008, and I would go seawalling, rollerblade along the seawall around Stanley Park, and I got a really weird mosquito bite in my thigh, and I couldn't quite, it just looked weird. Coming from the prairies, we grow up with mosquitoes all the time. Like, I'm born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So going over to the West Coast and you get bit by a mosquito bite, you know what they look like. Long story short, I thought it was weird, didn't think anything more of it, and just put that feather in my hat. About a week later, I was caught in the wrong place at a wrong time, and I was in an unfortunate accident that basically put me into a position that I was very traumatized, and I had to go to the hospital. Long story short, between the mosquito bite and the incident, my foot was very, very sore, and I had to put a tensor bandage around the ankle. I was hopping around for like 3 weeks on my left side because I couldn't put any pressure on my right side. And I'm walking around. Finally, 3 weeks later, I take off the tensor bandage, and immediately, right before my eyes, my foot starts to swell. And I was like, okay, that's not good. So with that being said, I immediately called my doctor, and then that's how I got referred down the chain link to get diagnosed with the condition. But as I said, since training people and working with people, I've recognized that I know we're always trying to figure out how and the source, and we focus on how we got this disease. For me, what I'm most passionate about, and part of what I try to teach people with lymphedema is that it's what we do today that really makes the biggest difference. And I hope that with being on shows like these and talking to people, we can help a lot of people just recognize what it is and help them move forward and make them feel better about themselves. Because I don't think no matter really how you got the disease or the condition, it's very hard to live with. So thanks for allowing me to share my story.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. All right. Super positive spin. I love that. All right. So second question for you is, you are a single working mom, and you're clearly a busy lady, and you're pregnant while having your lymphedema. And I want to ask you, for the sake of anybody out there who might be thinking about having kids and who has lymphedema, what was that experience like for you? Did you have to do anything to modify your self-management routine to make sure you manage your symptoms well during that time? And what advice or tips would you give to anybody who is thinking about getting pregnant who also has lymphedema?
So I'm going to sort of retract what I said previously too about it doesn't matter how or you got the condition, because I think for pregnancy, the most common question that I get was, did it affect the child? Which is a very good question. And knowing that I wasn't primary lymphedema, like it wasn't genetically predisposed in my DNA, I knew that I wasn't going to transfer it onto my child. So first and foremost, so who's ever watching this, if you don't have primary lymphedema, to pass it on to your child is very difficult. It's really not going to happen. That being said, the two pregnancies were completely separate. They were completely different. The first child, I was very active. I ate lots of clean foods. I did and was really just in the pregnancy glow, as they would say. The second child, unfortunately, because you're running after a toddler, you don't get a chance to bask and embrace the child like being pregnant. You're always just busy. That being said, I still remained active, and it helped with the swelling. But really, for anybody who is pregnant or considering getting pregnant, the best advice that I would have is just wear your compression, go for your manual lymph drainage, as well as take care of yourself. Eat anti-inflammatory foods, pamper yourself, keep your feet elevated as much as you can, and just enjoy being pregnant, and wait for your little package to arrive, because you're going to be busy.
Excellent.
So I'm pretty sure, I don't just think, I know a lot of people in our community would say that you're a role model for that health of an active living with lymphedema. What would you say are the top 5 things that you did to get yourself to this place that you're at now, where you're truly thriving, with lymphedema, not just living?
What I have recognized with trying to survive is it doesn't look like this. The struggle is real, right? Yeah. The first thing that I recognized is that my health was my responsibility, as well as investing in myself would probably be the best investment I could possibly make. And I had to make that decision. That was a really big eye-opener. Especially being a single mom and a single full-time mom, you really try to recognize how can you delegate your time, because you have so much to do and there's only one person. So it is a recipe for insanity. I love it because it keeps you busy, but when you don't feel well, when you really just feel like you can't do everything, the one thing that I had to make the choice, which has made the difference, was to put myself first. So that would be step number 1. Step number 2 was obviously recognizing step number 1, and then figuring out a plan how I was going to make this happen. What were some of the simple daily devotionals that I could do that I wouldn't break a promise to? So step 2 would be to make a plan. Step 3, I would recommend, if you don't have the answers to your questions, find somebody and those who have gone before you, who are people that you look up to. You're not going to fit with everybody in, obviously, the world, unfortunately, as sad as it is. But you have to find people that you connect with, that you feel that they're of quality and that are going to kind of help pull you out of your slump. That would be one thing that I would regret, because I didn't meet anybody with lymphedema until after the 17th year. This was after my bodybuilding competition, when I basically stayed at home and suffered alone for 17 years, because back, I don't know if anybody knows, but back when you're diagnosed, really anything before the 2000s, maybe even still now, there's not still much about this disease. So if you don't know where to look, and if you don't know the support groups, if you don't know who's kind of leading the trail, Google search, that's going to be your friend. Google search, and hopefully you can meet people that help go and show you the way. Step number 4 would be that, based on your plan and based on the answers that you find, start with something small to focus on. Start with those things that really teach you basic habits, like those habits of dealing with your life. are so common. Like brushing your teeth is a habit. So what you're trying to develop in managing your life is what are the consistent behaviors you can repeat day in and day out without missing a beat. Whether if it's drinking lots of water, whether if it's saying something positive about yourself, whether if it's even getting outside and being active. Choose just one thing to focus on. So that would be step number 4. And step number 5 is consistency. So with sticking up with your consistency, staying true to your plan, sticking to finding those answers, surrounding yourself with good people, and recognizing that your health is totally your responsibility, you'll be very much more on your way to achieving what you need.
That's amazing. One step at a time, right?
That's what they say, but I still haven't figured that one out, right? Like,
Me too.
it's like stop and freeze. I'm not making a move, or I'll just do 7,000 things at once, right?
Kind of like that game, go, go, stop, right? But we don't do the go, go, stop. We just go, 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 go. There might be a pause, but there's not really a stop, is there?
Well, and I think too, when like people who are very much chronically ill, like it's hard to go. We want to go, but sometimes the bodies don't go. And then that's when you have to reassess everything. And I think that's what I love about what I do and what I try to show to the world. It's been a hard task to try to like replicate what I know to everybody, but you're right. Like it is hard to just stop or just go, depending on which situation you come from.
All right.
So.
Okay, so we have it on record, and you just spoke about it, that you won a bodybuilding competition in 2017. I imagine with having lymphedema, that must have been a Herculean effort to be the winner of that kind of competition. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey, your path to success that way? And also any tips or ideas you have for somebody who's like, hey, I have lymphedema, I really want to start to get fit, but I'm nervous. What would you say to them as well?
So just to clarify, the bodybuilding competition was a happenstance that wasn't really planned. Oh, my girlfriend forced me to go into it, so thank you to her. That's how she started this all. So I'm very thankful, though, very appreciative of her friendship. But I was training so much that I didn't have a goal to work towards, and I have had a background in athletics for all my life. So I have been very much I would consider more of a jock or an athlete compared to, well, I do it all, I suppose. But long story short, when I made the commitment to myself to take back my health, I was just training. I didn't have a goal. And because my girlfriend saying going to a bodybuilding competition, I didn't know if it was the culture or the environment that was going to be supportive for me, right? That being said, understanding that in a bodybuilding competition, they judge you on size and consistency and just the tone, really for the cosmetic value of the muscle. It's different than going to say into track and field where you're competing for time. I was going for aesthetics to get my leg back to shape, right? So when I was training, I entered, and by fluke I won. You would assume that obviously it was a validation, that I'd be super elated and super happy because here I am, you get the trophy at the end of the day. But I really want to express to people that I was still just as sad thriving with lymphedema than I was when I was first diagnosed. And I wanted to be clear about this because I think people put a lot of pressure on the external image for us to be happy, which I get and I understand based living with lymphedema. But the self-care and the self-wellness and recovering from whatever it is that is holding you back is still just as much work on the inside which was required on the outside. The best piece of advice that I could give to somebody who really wants to work on their fitness journey is, like I said, start with something small, whether it be a physical, everybody I find is at a different place in their life. Not everybody is realistically ready to work out, but that doesn't mean you still can't do work. And I think whether you're lying in bed and sitting at home, and it's very hard, especially if you do experience multiple issues, whatever that may be. We have to force ourselves to work. We have to force ourselves to put forth that attention. And it doesn't matter if you're sick or if you're not sick. I think it's something that as a human need should be required to do because, as I said before, the biggest thing that you can invest in is yourself. Because really, if you don't invest into yourself, you're only going to get as far as what you allow yourself to get. So I think whether it be fitness or anything, because it all links together, just start small and figure out what those things are that you really want to achieve.